are rocking with the best. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, today we're going to talk about how a black 10-year-old was just recently given probation for public urination. I'm going to share with you the latest in this case that got people in Mississippi talking. Also, can we talk about body cam footage? We're asking the question, is body cam footage effective for police reform? We'll have the latest in based on a report that shows otherwise. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to be checking in with my man, Brian Smith, talking about telling stories that matter as we delve into the conversation about creative writing and why it's important for us to have ownership of our own narrative. And later, I got another update about the suspended Texas teen who was suspended because of his locks. The drama continues. Folks, stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Blackstar Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, it is Thursday, so happy Thursday to all of you that are tuning in, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in. As we are streaming, there we go. We're streaming on a number of great platforms, starting with our home platform of BlackstarNetwork.com. Make sure you go to our website today, download the app for free, follow us on social media. And of course, folks, we ask for your financial donation as we are continuing to make this thing happen here at Blackstar Network. So go to our website today at BlackstarNetwork.com. We truly appreciate the support. We're also streaming on Amazon News, on Amazon News platforms, on Amazon News on your Fire TV. We're also on Amazon Prime Video, so you can check us out on Prime Video. And we would love to see you there. Prime Video app under Live TV, the news, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, the news. We would love to check you out there. We're also on Freevee, the Freevee network, who got us on now under news. We thank Freevee for their support. And we're on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Blackstar Network or find us under Live TV and then news and opinions. Oh, man. And of course, folks, we are on the social media sites of YouTube and Facebook, just under Roland Martin. So go to Roland Martin's YouTube page. That's where you will find the illustrious Culture Crew. They are checking in from all around the country. I love the Culture Crew, folks. I love the Culture Crew. So big shout out to the online Culture Crew that's checking in, man. I see all of y'all. Who we got in the chat right now? Pastor Damon Blissett. Hey, Kings and Queens. There we go. We got Deidre Hall in here. Tiana is in here. Bill James, thank you so much for checking in. Conscious Thought, I see you. Thank you so much, brother. Ming Lee, Natasha Surge. We appreciate you. Anastasia Pageant, peace and love for Farajii King. Well, peace and love, Anastasia. Thank you so much for checking in. The ABX Girl, thank you so much for checking in. As always, I can't wait to hear what you got to say. Cindy D, my sister, thank you so much. Miss Pauline Hurt, thank you, thank you, thank you. Who else we got here? And folks are still checking in. Folks, again, you can join us as well as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. All right, let me check in with my brother, who is a brother who's doing some fantastic work in a lot of different spaces, but he comes on here every week to share his insight about a number of matters and issues. So we are happy to have my brother back again. He serves as a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. He's also an advocate. He is an activist. He is man of the street, man of the community, man of the people. My brother is Brother Shinedu Wakorafor. Shinedu, good afternoon, sir. How you feeling this afternoon?
What it do, Brother Farajii? I'm feeling good.
I see you repping Los Angeles a little bit Bel Air up in that joint. I see you. I see you. Shout
out to the Fresh Prince from Philadelphia.
Yeah. Big shout out to Fresh Prince. So yeah, definitely appreciate you. Look like, what, did my light just go out? I think my light just went out. I'll get that. But look, hey, Brother Shinedu, let's talk a little bit about this first story. The first story, of course, being the fact around this 10-year-old who was sentenced to probation and to a very unusual punishment for simply doing public urination. Now, I don't know if anybody has heard this story. This is out of the state of Mississippi. But folks, take a look at this. This is from NBC News, where 10-year-old Quantavious Eason, who is in the 3rd grade, Brother Shinedu, he was arrested by Senatobia police back on August the 10th. And after a police officer saw him relieving himself outside next to his mom's car when the woman was inside an attorney's office, according to family attorney Carlos Moore. Now, he did what any reasonable person would do. He urinated next to the car, behind the door, not exposing himself to anyone, according to the family attorney, Mr. Moore. He would not have been arrested, prosecuted, or sentenced if he was any other color or race besides black. This is really interesting. Very, very interesting. Not only was he arrested, let me give you the latest on this here, Brother Shinedu, and to all of the Culture Crew. He was arrested, he was charged, then the prosecutor pursued the case, and then this week, a youth judge oversaw a sentence that included probation and requiring Quantavious to write a 2-page report about Kobe Bryant. A 2-page report about Kobe Bryant. Now, here's the other piece, and then we're going to take a quick pause because I want to hear what folks got to say. According to the second part of this, and let's pull up the second quote, please, Keenan. Quantavious was charged in youth court with being a child in need of supervision, according to the family attorney. The child is required to check in with a probation officer once a month for 3 months. Now, according to the family lawyer, they said that we are not going to appeal. He will not have a criminal record. This is probation. And he is a fan of Kobe Bryant, so he doesn't mind writing the 2-page report, according to the family attorney, Mr. Moore. But still, the principle of it, he should not have to do anything. He should be enjoying his Christmas holiday like the other kids. What in the world is happening here? Brother Sinedu, talk to me. What's your take on this, bro?
I'm gonna speak more of this on the second half, but this is really just weaponization of the law. And this is, to me, as a black man, it's almost that fear mongering, how, those with authority may buck up on black boys back in the day during, the Jim Crow era, just to keep you afraid. In 2023, if urination is what you are arresting and charging a small boy for, who is smart enough to do it on the side, especially when you think of a lot of businesses these days don't allow you to use their bathroom unless you're making a purchase. But that this is what we're using. And this is what gets me upset about law enforcement who make the statements about bad apples. These are the small ass things that you could do to make a difference in the life of the constituents that you swore to protect. But to be prosecuting somebody, see, now this is from the police and now to the judges. To be taking it this far to a little boy who is peeing, when our biggest threat in America, according to the FBI, is domestic grown white terrorists. It never makes sense to me.
Never makes sense. Never makes sense. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I think this is another example of the adultification of black boys, Brother Sinedu, that we often read about and that we see. And this adultification is I think everybody carries the burden of this. I think, of course, there's systemic racism. I think it's implicit bias. But I think it's also part of our culture as black people that we don't allow children, and I'm going to say this, y'all. I'm going to say this. To be a child today seems almost sinful. We do not allow children to be children today. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We don't allow, you got 5 to 6 years when you're born, Brother Sinedu. And then after like around 6, 7 years old, the adultification process starts to kick in. And I think this is the main problem as to why we're seeing stuff like this is happening. And it's acceptable. And it's acceptable within the culture. Folks, we got to take a quick pause when we come forward. Let's have that conversation on the other side as we talk about this crazy case of a black 10-year-old who was arrested, who was charged, who was prosecuted simply for public urination. He's not doing any jail time. He won't have a criminal record. But guess what did happen? It left a scar probably on this young brother that is going to stick with him for the rest of his life. Let's talk about that on the other side as we just get started here on The Culture, right here on the Blackstar Network. We'll be right back.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Blackstar Network.
Folks, Blackstar Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Blackstar Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We have been talking about the case of Quantavious Eason, the third grader in the state of Mississippi, who was arrested over the summer by the Senatobia police on August the 10th for simply for public urination. The problem is not the fact that he just peed outside, and he did it behind his mom's car while she was in an attorney's office, not exposing himself. The problem is that someone thought that he needed to be arrested. The Senatobia police arrested this little boy. Let's take a look at this picture. This is in the back of the police cruiser. And Keenan, let's make this picture bigger for me, please. Thanks, bro. Like, looking at this, like if you imagine your 10-year-old sitting in the back of a police cruiser, right? And more importantly, think about what's going through his head as a 10-year-old. You're sitting in the back of a police cruiser. This is, of course, he doesn't have cuffs on, but it's just the simple fact that at 10 years old, you still have a positive view of the police. Most of us, right? We talk about officer friendly and all of those things, but now you have this experience of sitting in the back of a police cruiser because of something that, as you said, Brother Damon, one of our great culture crew members, you said it, simply for doing something that everybody has done. Women and men, grown folks and children, black and white. So you rather damage the boy's view of authority, damage the boy's view of justice to make a point about what? Now, of course, he wasn't arrested. The youth court that he went to, the judge saw it fit that he be put on probation. So that's crazy. But then he had to write a 2-page report as well about Kobe Bryant, who he loves. I don't know why they told him to write the report on Kobe Bryant, but I guess to try to teach him something. But Brother Sinedu, I want to bring you back into the conversation, bro, because this is adultification at its best.
Mm-hmm.
And Black children do not get a chance to be children in this culture and in society that we currently live in. And, you know, we could say it's a systemic racism. Yes. We can say it's the institution. Yes. But I think also we can't move away from the fact, Brother Sinedu, that it's also part of our culture within the Black community that we have, to some degree, adultified our own children. That by the time they get to the 10-year-old stage, we don't look at them quite as babies anymore. And they're not babies, but they are babies. You know what I'm saying? And we put more responsibility on them. Some of us, I mean, and if we want to get real deep in the culture, some of us put their names on our bills.
Damn, bro.
I mean, we talking to black folks, man. Let's just keep it real. Like some of us done it. We have, look, man, by the time some of us were 18 years old, we don't know why our credit is messed up as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
We like, damn, I just got out of high school. How come I got messed up credit already? Because your parents, your grandparents, your auntie, your uncle, somebody put your name on a bill. All right. Let's talk about this a little bit more. As folks are checking in, Jacqueline Madden checking in from Facebook. That's crazy. Absolutely, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Welcome to the crew. Facebook, Gwendolyn Smith. So the police and courts would rather he pee in his pants? This is over-policing of our children. Come on, Gwendolyn, speak that truth. Welcome to the crew, Gwendolyn. Thank you for checking in. Who else we got from Facebook? Barbara Toya, you said it never will make sense. Drunk grown men can urinate on the street in public. They don't even get a call for police. Barbara, can the church say amen? Thank you and welcome to the crew. Sinead, adultification. Here's the thing that I want us to kind of focus on, key in on. Adultification. It kicks in. Like I said, I believe it kicks in around 8, 9, maybe when you get to 10 years old, but we have this view. And I think that's the unfortunate part. For black boys, the adultification starts where, just like a case like this, when black boys do something, we penalize them. For the girls, we adultify them sexually, right? When they get to a certain age, we go, oh, she's getting a little shape, a little body, and we start to adultify them. So I think this is one of those examples. What's your take on it, bro?
I think it's so many things. I think this is a clear case for why a couple of years ago we used the word defund the police, because for a moment like this, there is no police and there is no court that should have been involved. At best, this is something where you use a counselor or whatever. Again, at best, who will talk to the parents, okay, about this act. But to see, when you bring the police in, sometimes this is my issue with the idea of 911 and policing. When you need help, if you call the same people for non-threatening crimes that you call for crimes, sometimes the entire industry system looks like whatever you do is criminal. Yeah, they didn't handcuff that boy, but he's in the back of the car. And I remember, I think it's a Ta-Nehisi Coates book where it talks about the talk, you know, sitting your child down and having that talk, something that black men and women had to do with their kids time and time again. And the adultification, like, it does start at home as well, because to your point, when I think of the term man up, I tell him, I have an older brother and he has young kids, 2 young kids, I think 1, 3, 1, 5. And I always tell him, you got to be careful what you're actually saying. You can't put your adult experience on this child's vision, because you're taking away their innocence. You're forcing it out of them based on what was forced upon you. And I think it's a very hard line to toe when you look at what is going on with our babies and why we as black people end up kind of adultifying them. We do it because society does it, and we want to get them prepared, which cause them to be hardened, which lead to a lot of mental health problems and so on and so forth. Like, this boy sat in the back of a police car. Could the police not just talk to him and say, where is he?
Hey, Sinead, bro, I was literally thinking that when I read this story. If I'm a police officer and I'm coming onto the scene of a situation like this, as a police officer, there's no way in the world, and look, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I wouldn't even do this to a white child. I wouldn't even arrest him if he was white. I don't care what color he was. He's a child. I would not have been like, as a police officer, hey, son, sit in the back of, I would have been like, hold up, man. Let me just talk to this little boy right here. Let me just talk to him. And had a little heart-to-heart with this little man. Like, what's going on? Okay. But now you had to go through that. And again, he didn't get a record and all of that stuff. And I understand. But as some of our crew members are talking about, it's traumatizing. Deidre, you said it. This will traumatize him for the rest of his life. It's traumatizing. I think I shared it with y'all before that one time I had an opportunity to introduced my son to some police officers that was in our neighborhood, and told them, and these were Black police officers, very nice. You could tell these were people that understood the importance of community and all of that. And I introduced them. I said, Nigel, his officer so-and-so, his officer so-and-so, officer so-and-so, this is my son, this is my son, boom, boom, boom. Nigel, and just to get him to at least try to have a positive view of police and authority, right? And to give the police officers an opportunity to understand that when you see my son in the street, I want you to see him through the same lens that you would see your own son or your nephew, right? Because I want you to take that in consideration. I want you to take his boyness and his humanity in consideration first before taking into, I'm going to enforce the law on a child to the fullest extent. I don't want you to look at my son like that. I want you to start to look at his boyness and his humanity first. And so it's important that we do this as a community, that we don't even, like you made the point, that we don't set ourselves up or our children up for failure because we have created a culture where we want our children to grow up so fast. It's just a simple thing where we say to a little girl, hey, mama. Now, to a little girl who calls her adult mother, the adult woman in her life, mama, now that title is bestowed on her. What are we saying to that little girl? And now it's out of love. It's not out of any type of malice or anything like that. But just saying, hey, you got little mama. You see what I'm saying? So we want them to grow up real quick, real fast. And I always tell children, don't worry about growing up so fast. Because when you get into this adult life, Lord, those of us who are adulting right now, we probably wish that we were 9. We probably wish we were 7 or something. But we're growing up so fast, bro. Look, I got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation on the other side. Also, as we talk about police, and let me share with you where there is a real concern about police reform in this country as it relates to body cameras, and why that may not be the most effective tool to getting justice in these police brutality and police misconduct cases. Stay with us. This conversation will continue on the other side, right here on The Culture on the Blackstar Network.
Folks, Blackstar Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Blackstar Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Blackstar Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our
So
stuff.
please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by our contributor, culture crew member, Brother Shinedu Wakofor, diversity, equity, inclusion specialist. A lot of folks are not happy about this situation, Brother Shinedu, but it goes to show us that we still got a lot of work to do, a lot of ground to cover, especially when it comes to policing in our community. But this adultification, we have to be very careful, because I don't want to have a conversation like this without putting some responsibility back onto us, a standard that we can strive to live up to, bro. And I think that's what's part of it. Like, we expect other people to change, but there are things within our culture that perpetuate certain ideas, certain type of a certain view that people have about Black children, Black people, and whatnot. So, you know, certainly the police didn't have to move forward on arresting this child, but at the same time, this could be a learning opportunity for us, right, bro?
Indeed. And I hate to say this, but you know, we speak a lot about community policing and its importance. And I think when it comes to community policing, it's important that we also let the police in our communities know how we also want to be handled, what our major concerns are, and what we are expecting of them, and also holding them to the standard of, if you can't produce our expectations, we'll make sure that we get the next police chief out or whatever. We'll make sure that we do something, because I think this is a simple measure. I don't know the race of this officer. It's just a simple measure of kind of taking your job maybe a little bit too serious. You know how you're not supposed to speed, right?
Right.
Police officers pull you over, right? And they assess the situation, right? And that police officer, speeding is breaking the law. That is the law. But that police officer can say, you know what? I'm going to just let you go off on a warning. No harm, no foul. Where is this child's warning?
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
And to even take it further, you're criminalizing not just him peeing, but a child urinating on the outside. You are criminalizing. That, I think, has a psychological effect, not only on the child, but on other officers. Yes, he is an adult. And we know this. We know this by stuff like, Trayvon Martin, where when we are looked at in certain ways, Black bodies are immediately adultified. They're immediately looked at as a sense of danger, that we're dangerous.
Yep.
I wonder if when they came, if he put his hands in his pocket, would they have screamed gun? Because, we saw Tamir Rice. These are major concerns that are beyond policing. It is about race in America and how we don't want to inherently speak on how Black boys are inherently made to be dangerous. And who knows, is it the guilt? This is my belief. Is it the guilt of generation of racist white men who continued the degradation of Black men during slavery, Jim Crow, because they want to stand up for themselves or their beliefs or their manhood? I really do feel like there is always—
That's a great point, bro. That is an excellent point. You make an excellent point here, Shinedu. And I think that's why we need to have more conversations like this, right? Like more incidents, because there's so many layers and levels to this. This is not just about little young brother Quantavious Eason, 10-year-old third grader. This is really shining a light on where we are. Like even in 2023, going into 2024, after all of this fervor about everything from police brutality, George Floyd, all of these cases, You mean to tell me an officer can come on the scene and still commit, like, not use the best of intelligence in handling this situation? Come on, man. Like, this, after a while, you get to a point, you're like, bro, like, what do you expect people to do if the police, the authority figure who has been designated to serve and protect you, they're still not using the best of intelligence? You didn't have to arrest them. You didn't have to take them through that whole process. You chose to do that. Now, some of these officers may say, well, this is the way to teach him a lesson. But again, that's the hypocrisy, that's the double standard, because if it was a white child, I truly don't believe that child would have been arrested. That's what some of the parents say, that black, by him being black, was a huge part of this process, or a huge reason as to why he was treated this way. That's what his mom believed being the case. But in 2023, 2024, police it should not be acceptable that a police make a dumb-ass decision like this. And that's what I'm going to call it.
I thought of something as you were speaking. You said if it was a white kid, they wouldn't do that. And what is interesting about that statement, that somebody can say it's an assumption. Well, let's go look at the data. Maybe it is the white kids who would need that lesson because, again, according to the FBI, the biggest threat in America is white radicalized nationalists. They're terrorists, right? Maybe those were the now adults that were kids who needed those lessons, but were told, you're good, you can go. But then you go for the black innocent child who is his parent.
There it is. Hey, bro. Come on, there it is. So this brings us into our next conversation, and I'm glad that you bring up those points, bro, because there's a new conversation. Well, it's not new, but there is kind of looking at where we have gone in terms of policing and, more importantly, police reform in this country. And based on the past 10 years, if we look at the past 10 years, when President Obama was in office, when all of these police killings were happening, when all of these police brutalities cases were popping up, looking at the past 10 years and going into another year, how far have we gotten with police reform? And one of the big calls that has been a part of this movement for police reform has been the use of body cameras. But check this out, y'all. According to a report, there was one report that was done back in 2018 by the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and it still applies today. Take a look at this. This is coming from the Griot and Associated Press. Let's put up that first quote, please. Thank you, bro. Research by the Bureau of Justice Statistics shows that 80% of local police departments and sheriff officers acquire body cameras to improve the safety of officers, increase the quality of evidence, decrease agency liability, and reduce complaints from civilians. But take a look. Research does not necessarily support the effectiveness of body-worn cameras in achieving those desired outcomes. A comprehensive review of 70 studies of body-worn cameras used found that the larger body of research on body-worn cameras shows no consistent or no statistically significant effects. So when we talk about police reform, Brother Sinedu, talking about over-policing, and one of the big strategies was like, we need more body cams. Police need to turn it. Police officers are actually turning their body cams on every day in this country, every day. And guess what? That body cam footage doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be justice or even less police brutality cases. Isn't that something? That it does not necessarily change, that the jury is still out, folks. This is essentially what this report is from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. So y'all can check it out yourself. The jury is still out on how effective that level of police reform is. Wow. What's your take on that, Brother Sinedu? And I know we got to take another pause. Sure. Are you surprised by that?
Not at all. And I think people laughed at her. I watched many people laugh at this woman that I'm about to bring up. But she was damn right. When Marianne Williamson ran for president the last election cycle, she kept bringing up this point of how sick we are as a people. He said, the sickness, if you don't heal the people first, you will change the industries and wonder how they're spawning new industries. She didn't say it in those exact words, but she said that. Let me just go down the line for you. Look at the KKK for instance.
Yeah.
KKK was very prominent. So what happened when that started to die down a little bit? They found prominence in being something else. They reinvented themselves. Some became lawmakers, but most became what, Farajii?
Police officers.
Police officers. And I hate to say it, it has been studied. That's how white people in particular, how they move. They do not actually make a cautious change. No, they systematically move the goalpost around. Of course, them footages won't change anything because the issue wasn't the footage in the first place. The issue were the people, the mindsets. We can have complete radar, LiDAR, everything that says, here it is. Did we not see what happened to what is it? Mike, I can't remember the name. It's too many. What's his name? Jesus Christ. Recently.
Which one?
Years ago. What is his name? The black man that was killed by Derek Chauvin. George Floyd.
Oh, George Floyd, yeah.
Didn't we see that on camera? Did we not see it? Did we not see it? Tamir getting shot. Did we not see that? Philando Castile. Did we not get that? What was the brother in New York with the cigarettes? Did we not see that? Now answer me this. What difference did that make than in Rodney King getting beat with no ocular proof? You're still getting the same fucking results because it's the same fucking people who are not being charged to change. That is the issue. We have a sickness in humanity where the people who are doing these jobs can always find a way to circumvent it one way or another. That's why those cameras make no difference, even if they're on 24/7, because once you kill somebody unarmed who was doing no harm, it then becomes, we're doing a thorough investigation and we're putting you on administrative leave with pay. What the hell is that?
Look, we gotta take another pause when we come forward. Let's continue the conversation on the other side. Stay with us, folks. It's The Culture here on the Blackstar Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Blackstar Network.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been talking about, or asking the question, is body camera footage effective for police reform? As now there is a look back over the past 10 years based on where we have gone, how far we've gone. There's been a look back on the past 10 years to see, you know what, are we making any type of progress in this space? And one of the big things that we were calling for 10 years ago, and even a little bit shorter period of time, was the use of body cameras. Well, now there is becoming more and more data and statistics and reports to show that body cam footage doesn't necessarily mean that more police will end up in jail for brutality and misconduct. It's showing that. It's actually showing a mix, and that in some cases, according to the National Institute of Justice, where they use both scientific methods to, as they say, advance justice, the National Institute of Justice essentially said some studies suggest that body-worn cameras may offer benefits, while others show either no impact or possible negative effects. The mixed results of these studies strongly imply that additional research is needed. And that was in January of 2022 when that was put out there by the National Institute of Justice. So there's still, the jury is still out on this, and I want to bring my brother Shanadu back in very quickly. This jury is still out on the effectiveness of this. And in light of all that's happened, in light of this 10-year-old, all of these things, we still got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, brother Shanadu. Let me go to the crew because folks are checking in to share their thoughts. Pearl Shelton checking in from Facebook. Pearl, you said the mindset gets worse because white America keeps changing the narrative about what is or isn't racist. Keep moving the goalposts, right, Pearl?
Ain't that what I said?
That's why I'm bringing it up. Pearl's basically agreeing. Like, it's the narrative about what is and what isn't racist. And the crazy part about it is you can't ask those in positions of power whether they are abusing their power. It can't be. You can't say, hey, Mr. Person in power, are you abusive? Are you neglectful? Are you this? No. You got to ask those who are underneath of that power if that power is good or if that power is not so good. So great point that you're making there, Pearl. Thank you so much for checking in as we talk about this. You don't like my music. My God, you said the notion that society depends on fear of punishment to thrive is not only false, it's fascist. And I think it was you, Sharon. Thank you so much. You don't like my music. Sharon Brooks, you checked in and you said that's because many police officers are not turning their body cameras on. According to the reports, they are actually turning them on. But guess what? Look at our brother who was beaten and killed on camera by 5 black men. They had the whole thing on. It was all on footage. Now, let me share with you very quickly what one law professor from Cornell University had to say about this, Mr. Joe Margulis. He said this, let's post a quote 2, please, Keenan. Thank you, bro. Body cameras don't alter police behavior. They just show officers behaving the way they're trained. That's Joe Margulis, law professor, Cornell, former defense attorney. This is what he told the Griot. He said, from a reform perspective, the footage is rarely used to hold police accountable because few police misconduct cases make their way to trial. That's usually when you would use body camera footage in a courtroom. There it is.
Whoop, there.
So body camera footage is used on the back end. Exactly. It doesn't necessarily mean guilt. In this report from the National Institute of Justice, Brother Shanadu, I was reading it earlier, and it was saying that they use body cameras when they are recruiting and training police officers, like what to do and what not to do, right? What to do. It's like what the NFL does. They run the tape and show and tell players, all right, this is our last game. This is how we moved around. But it's used as a training tool more importantly, unless you get into that phase of the case like Mr. Margulis said, where you need to have some footage, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to bring some sort of is a guilt or some level of indictment. It's basically showing, hey, this is how officers are trained. Here's my question for you, bro. Do we need to switch strategies on police reform? And less talk about body cameras, more talk about something else.
I think we need to talk about one thing. If you could change one thing, police reform will actually immediately, behaviors of people will change immediately.
Talk to me.
Remove qualified immunity, and we won't be having this discussion. When you have qualified immunity, which keeps them protected from when they do shit that is wrong, when you have that as a basis, when I have a pillow on the ground, I'm not too scared to fall. That is just the truth. Qualified immunity, in my opinion, and in many opinion of other activists, they have kept police far away from being accountable. They kept them so far from being accountable that we get excited that Derek Chauvin gets arrested because he is the example. The exemption and not the rule, or whatever the phrase is. I think removing qualified immunity is the most important thing, because think about every other field of study or every other field of expertise. Look at a doctor. A doctor can be working on a patient, and if that doctor kills that patient, even if it's by mistake, a doctor can lose their license, malpractice, so on and so forth. Why can't police be held to a similar standard? Why?
Right. But police but police departments in this country have a very strong lobby, and I'm using that word just as a way to show, like, they have influential power in terms of budgets, in terms of state budgets, in terms of public sentiment. Because anytime a political leader stands in front of the people, when the talk gets about crime and violence, and both parties actually do this, they say, oh, we need something to stop the crime, we need something to stop the violence, then the emphasis is put on, let's give police more resources, let's give police more money, let's give police, that's how it generally is. And as voters, to all of my voter folks in the chat, I know my sister Corinna and some other folks who may say this, for voters, we have to be, I think, a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, Shanita? We can't just say, I have a problem with crime and violence, do something. We have to be more strategic in what we're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we understand crime and violence is a problem. But there's that to me, telling a politician crime and violence is a problem is almost giving them a pass to
fuck with your rights. Because if you remember the 3 strikes rule, we got so desperate, and police love this, in my opinion. We got so desperate with crime that we were willing to give up our rights so that they could clean it up. But the thing is, we learned they created more problems than existed before. We need to have specifics in what we ask them. We need issues. We want to solve this with crime, but here are the metrics that we need them solved. Here are the guidelines that we want them solved by. Because if we make it a general statement, police will do what police have always done in this country. Do whatever it takes with brute force to solve it.
Absolutely. Let me get this one last piece in here as we talk about this, as we wrap up, and I got like a minute to wrap this up. Here's what another I would say scholar on this issue had to say. This is from Mr. Alex Picaro, who was the former director of the Bureau of Justice Statistics. He said, when they're talking about how can the footage be useful, the footage can be a useful tool. The scenes captured can provide context on how police interact with the population, and also can be used in certain criminal cases. They're not designed to solve the problems. They're designed to aid in the identification of problems that can hopefully be addressed through other things, whether that's training, retraining, or disciplinary actions. Bingo. That's from Alex Picaro, the former director of the Bureau of Justice Statistics. They're not designed to solve the problems. They're designed to aid in the identification of problems that can hopefully be addressed through other things, whether that's training, retraining, or disciplinary action. I think that's a heavy statement, bro. That's a heavy statement.
It ain't for us. You seeing it is luck. It's not for y'all. It's actually for our protection. That's what they're really saying. And I think our sentiment is because we look at a camera as accountability. But what that statement said is, well, damn, we ain't never said that shit. Y'all created that. We have to be smart as voters and as consumers of life, not to be tricked by the nuance in what something is. Just because that camera is a recording device, it doesn't mean that it's working in your benefit and in your best interest.
And guess what? We have to ask the question, and I don't have the answer for this, folks. So I can't say. When we were having these conversations about police reform and all of that stuff over these past 10 years, and the idea of a body camera coming up, where did that come from? And I know it's a big question. We may never know the answers to. But was that a recommendation from law enforcement? Was that a recommendation from the community? Who recommended saying, like, this is the best way, this is the best course of action? Because now, like you said, Brother Sinedu, we got to shift gears. This is, as an activist, as I'm listening to this and I'm seeing the numbers and all of this stuff around this, I'm saying to myself, okay, that means that we got to change lanes here. I ain't worrying about the body camera. It's important. We need it for criminal cases. We need it for the trial period of the process. But I'm going after that qualified immunity after this point. Like, I'm shifting game. I'm changing lanes on them right now. And we got to ask ourselves that, like, the strategies have to fit where we are, and the strategies have to, and our solutions have to fit where we are, bro. And I just think that this is an eye-opening thing, that if we're talking about serious police reform in this country, then we got to make sure that we're asking the right questions and proposing the right solutions. What's your final take on this, bro, as we wrap up here?
Again, I think look, the police, the government, the law can only do what the people will allow. And the earlier and sooner we learn that, the better we all will be, holistically. You can see that in different towns that do things differently. I think with this case with the body cam, it was a good start, but a good start is not always a means to an end for what you were actually upset about. It's like a child is crying because he's in pain, because he's bleeding.
Yeah.
You give him an ice cream cone. Yeah, that is stimuli. That's building oxytocin, but I'm actually still in pain. And by the time I finish that ice cream cone, it is delayed response, but that pain will come right back to me. And
that's right.
By this time, that cut has now been infected. And I think that's where we are. We have been licking enough ice cream that we're not realizing how infected our original cut is getting.
Wow, there it is. There it is. My brother Sinedu Wakwa, diversity, equity, inclusion specialist, always joining us here on The Culture. Brother Sinedu, dropping jewels as always. Thank you so much, brother, for your insight and expertise and your passion. We truly appreciate you, love you, and you being so good for the culture.
Love you too, brother. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift gears. Let's talk about telling stories and why it's important to tell stories that matter. We're going to be checking in with adjunct professor and founder of the Script Repository, Mr. Brian Smith, to give us some insight as to this. Also, I'm going to share with you some of the latest around that suspended Texas teen who was suspended because of his locks and where the case stands now with another development. Stay with us. That's all happening on the second half of The Culture right here on the Blackstar Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Blackstar Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Blackstar Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Blackstar Network.
talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, Blackstar Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Blackstar Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation and joining us for the second half of the show. And big shout out to my brother Shanadu Wakwafor, who joined me for the first half, talking to us about that disturbing story of little brother Quantavious Eason, the 10-year-old, who was arrested and essentially given probation and was told to write a 2-page report on Kobe Bryant for public urination. We talked about the madness of that case, as well as asking the question about body cam footage. Is it still being an effective tool to usher in police reform? So we talked about that in the first half. Folks, make sure you do your due diligence. If you are interested in those conversations, and hopefully you are, then you will be a part of Team Replay. Check us out on the replay. We would love to have your eyes on that conversation and a whole lot more. So we thank you so much for tuning in as we're streaming live on BlackstarNetwork.com. You can check us out there. We're also streaming on Amazon, on various Amazon platforms, Amazon News on your Fire TV, Amazon Prime Video. You can find us there on the Prime Video app on Amazon. You also can find us on Freevee, that network there with On Now. And you can just check us out there in the news section. And we're also on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for us on as Blackstar Network on Plex TV. Now, folks have been checking in. I want to kind of, before we get to our next guest, just kind of recognizing that many of you still have some thoughts around this conversation about the 10-year-old and the whole body cam footage situation. So I wanted to, honor those who said something in that part of the conversation, because I think there has been a lot of discussions as to what this means. How should we move forward, whether it's as a voter, as advocates, and more importantly, as a people who are enmeshed in a culture where we have had a contentious relationship with police for so many years, a dysfunctional relationship in some cases for so many years. And so seeking a way for us to get into a better space with this whole process. My sister Janelle, you said evaluating the question of police immunity using a community board versus one chosen by the police union would make a difference in police reform. Also make them get bonded. Absolutely, absolutely. And looking at different pieces, like, okay, if body cam footage is not enough to bring the justice and to lock police, those bad apples up, then we're going to have to figure out a different way. But I like that point that you just made, JNL, evaluating the question of police immunity using a community board versus one chosen by the police union. So I truly appreciate you for posting that. Gwendolyn from Facebook, you checked in. Once again, you said several places are creating laws to prevent recording officers on the, at the duties. If that's the case, then what we going to do about that? What we going to do about that? I'm going to just ask that question just like that. Ming Lee, Natasha Surge, you said body cam footage was just a front row seat while watching the murders. Wow. And, you know, to that point, Ming Lee, that we can't, if you see that type of injustice happening, you know, we got to figure out, like, what is the other thing that we can do besides just putting it on camera, just recording the situation, right? Because, again, when you look at a lot of these cases, there are a lot of police, they turn on their body cams and they do their jobs. But, again, when you turn that camera on and you allow the whole situation to play out the way it does, the question is not whether the camera is on. The question is this enough to bring that officer or officers to the carpet? Is this enough to hold officers accountable? And I think that's the big question there. Is this going to be enough? So, you know, with the Tyree Hill murder, yes, it was enough to bring some level of justice. Those 5 Black officers are feeling the heat. They're being prosecuted and everything from a state level to the federal level. But of course, we see that doesn't always happen. But we do have to keep that in mind, that, like, asking the question, is this going to be enough? Let me see. Let me get one more in before we take another quick pause. Pauline, you said police should have to carry liability insurance and pay for it themselves. If they can't get liability insurance, then they shouldn't be able to be in law enforcement. We talk about a different level of reform right there, though, Pauline. We talking about that's a different level. That changes. And I love the idea, but I know that's a whole systematic change when police officers are being personally held liable, which is why qualified immunity was put into place, to remove that personal liability from the officer, right? And to make them immune or unable to be charged with anything personal. Could you imagine that if without qualified immunity, how that would affect police officers? Now they're responsible for misconduct. They're responsible for the killing. They're responsible for the brutality that they imposed on a citizen that they were supposed to serve and protect. That changes the game 1,000%. So there are still a lot of work to be done. I can't say it enough, folks. A lot of work to be done, a lot of ground to cover. And this is why I wanted to bring this up, because just as we're going into 2024, and I think that the conversation about police reform has died down. I don't know if anybody noticed, but we don't talk about it quite as much as we used to. We got to keep the foot on the pedal. We can't let up. And this is the hard work of activism and advocacy work, that it has to be consistent. It can't just be a one-off. It can't just be one case and then everybody. No. You got to keep your foot on the gas pedal to make sure that people understand that regardless of whatever the news trends are, regardless of whatever the social media trends are, this is still an important issue that needs everyone's attention. Look, I got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's continue the conversation. Let's talk to Mr. Brian Smith of the Script Repository as we talk about telling our stories that matter. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Blackstar Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Let's shift gears from talking about law enforcement and policing to talking about how do we tell our stories and how do we tell stories that matter. And this is part of the mission and the vision of my next guest, a man that has been studying creative writing. He is an adjunct professor as he teaches the next generation about the importance of expressing yourself through writing. And he helps those who are looking to take their writing to the next level, helping those taking those novels, turning them into screenplays, helping people take their ideas, turning them into teleplays for television, and more importantly, telling stories that matter. So I want to welcome to the airwaves of The Culture here on the Blackstar Network, Mr. Brian Smith. Brian, good afternoon, brother. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm good. Talk to us a little bit about the work and the work that you do as you founded the organization, the company, the Script Repository. What's this all about, big brother?
So I've been an author now for 20 years. As you stated, I've been an adjunct professor teaching creative writing and screenplay writing for 12 years. So as you progress in your writing career, as I progressed in my writing career, you reach a point, you can only make so many bestsellers lists before that high goes away, and you're looking for the next challenge. And for me, it was trying to, I felt like it was time for some of my books to become movies. And then at that point, I started studying script writing, screenwriting. And, my background is business. I have a couple of degrees. I have an MBA, so I tend to look at everything from a business perspective. I am a serial entrepreneur, and so with that being said, I started thinking. I believe that there's a business opportunity in everything that we do. You just need to find it. So when I looked at the process of adapting my own novels to screenplays, and I was able to make the transition relatively quick, it dawned on me, I know a gazillion authors out there. 80% of them are just struggling to learn the craft of writing a novel. This is an entirely different discipline. I am blessed to be able to do both. I also know that 80% of authors out there would like to one day see their work on the big screen. Ding, 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 there's the business opportunity. They don't have to learn a new craft, hire me to do it. So I created this company called the Script Repository, where we specialize in adapting authors' novels to screenplays. We opened during the pandemic. December of 2020 is when I opened. So we're about to, in a couple of days, hit, in 17th to be exact, will be the 3-year anniversary. And during those 3 years, my company has adapted 40 novels for authors to screenplays. 4 of those novels have gone on to be picked up to become movies.
That is amazing. And you are an award-winning, best-selling author. And like you said, 40 novels turning into screenplays. Your novels have appeared on numerous bestseller lists as your writer yourself, Dallas Morning News, Amazon, Target, and others. You've ghostwritten novels, memoirs, nonfiction books, and everything else. And you've been signed to Simon & Schuster, one of the big publishing houses in the country, one of the biggest, since 2011. Talk to me, Brother Brian, about this process of telling stories, telling our story, right? Because everybody now is on this wave, like we need to tell our story. Even here on Blackstar Network, you heard our founder, Brother Roland Martin. He talks about the importance of having that control of our narrative. From your vantage point, as a writer, as one who's doing this work with Script Repository, how significant is that for the culture?
It's very significant because no one can speak for us better than us. No one understands our voice, our cadence, our perspective better than us. The problem is, quite honestly, the problem is almost always financing. It's the financing component. So one of the things that I take great pride in, and I really focus on, and I break down for these authors, you can have this novel that's the size of Gone with the Wind. You can have this 400-page novel, and you got 40 characters, and they're all so important to you. But if, in fact, you want to see this on the big screen one day, you're going to have to understand that if it's not moving the story along, it's slowing the story down. And every character in a movie, every scene in the movie costs money. The more scenes you have, you're increasing the production costs. So one of the things that I do when I am adapting these, I'm also trying to school the author on how you get a film produced. And the way you get a film produced, especially if you're African American, unless you have a rich uncle or you saved up your nickels, you're going to need someone to finance this. You need to have minimum characters, minimum scenes, and a very clear story arc. And that's what I focus on, man. It's that a lot of people have ideas. People can get them financed. And oftentimes the reason why they can't get the finance is because the product that they're presenting to financiers, it isn't streamlined and well thought out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Brother Brian, I know we get in a few moments, we got to take our next pause, but earlier this week, I talked about the situation with first-time white author Kate Corain, who is the white author who went on to literary recommendation website Goodreads and posed as readers to give Black authors 1 stars, right? Wow. And 1-star reviews of their work. And you know, making that point, as we talked about this maybe yesterday or 2 days ago here on the show, and looking at the challenges that are facing Black authors today, Brother Brian, and not only being able to tell those stories, but to get those stories into the hands of a book agent, to get those stories into the hands of a publisher, to get those stories in the hands of a producer, and to studios, and all of these people, and that it's only a small percentage that gets through that process. You know it, and I know it's only a small percentage. But just the constant challenges that are facing Black authors. What do you say to Black authors who might be coming into this space thinking that they're going to get their story sold, and you got to let them know, like, look, having our stories told, it seems as a threat. It's not always going to be a welcome situation. How do you relay that message to the next generation of authors?
You cannot expect an oppressor to pay for the advancement of the person or the group that he's oppressed. So it would behoove you to have a financial plan. If in fact you're going to enter into this space of getting your film, your script turned into a television show or a feature film, then I would recommend consider going the independent route and consider starting with something that is small and easy to finance. if it's impactful enough and if it's well done enough, it can serve as your resume, if you will. It could serve as the vehicle that you use to present yourself to the world of financiers, and it may in fact enable you to get money that you would need to tell the real story, or not the real story, the larger story you'd like to tell. There is nothing wrong, and we live in a microwave society. But I'm here to say, Farajii, there is nothing wrong with crawling before you walk. And what I see is a lot of people, they want to hop on motorcycles before they learn how to ride a bike.
I like that. Hey, look, I mean, I know you're a writer, and I know you have license deals, but I'm stealing that.
I feel hey, man.
They want to hop on motorcycles before they learn how to ride a bike. Wow, I love it. I love it. Look, Brother Brian, I got to take a quick pause when we come forward. I think that, to that point, because we hear about writers, when we hear about the Quentin Bronson, the creator of Abbott Elementary, when we hear about like an Issa Rae, when you hear about an Ava DuVernay, these are Black women and these are Black folks that have been able to navigate through all of the treachery and the challenges and being able to start telling our stories to show our side of life. And so they are put before us as the models as to who we want to be like in terms of writers and authors and storytellers, right? And so when we look at these sisters and others, being able to really say, all right, I can do this. When we come forward, I want you to talk to us about having realistic expectations about this, because even though they make it, does that necessarily mean that more of our people are going to make it? And more importantly, is there a space for more Black stories in the industry, whether it's in written form or on television or in the movies? So I want to get your take on that, big brother. And of course, we're going to get some quotes, some comments from our online culture crew about this, because folks are checking in and say, look, I got stories to tell, Brother Brian. I am a book. Somebody's even checked in on the chat and said, I'm a book in and of itself. So I want to hear what you got to say about that. Folks, stay with us as we check in with Mr. Brian Smith, founder of the Script Repository, as we're talking about telling our stories that matter right here on The Culture on the Blackstar Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys. This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Blackstar Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Blackstar Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Blackstar Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. I've been checking in with business owner, writer, and professor, Mr. Brian Smith, who serves as the founder of the Script Repository, a company that transforms novels and adapt them to screenplays for both the big screen and the small screen. And our brother, Brian Smith, who has been writing for the past 20 years, has been working as a professor teaching the next generation about the power of writing and the power of the pen for the past 12 years. He's joining us as an award-winning best-selling author himself and talking about telling stories that matter to us. So, Brother Brian, again, we thank you so much for joining us. But let's talk a little bit about the people that we see before us. And we're starting to see more Black writers in front of us. Ava DuVernay, she has her new project, Origin, coming out. She wrote that one. Of course, we know Issa Rae with Insecure, and it started with the awkward Black girl. I saw that fantastic show on Hulu, The Other Black Girl, that was originally a book. Fantastic program. I saw that. Quinta Bronson, the creative mind behind Abbott Elementary. These are women and Black folks that have shown that our stories can be told, our experience of life can be relayed in a much bigger space. But is that enough? Should we prop them up? Because, like you saying, you can't jump on a motorcycle before you learn to ride on a bike. So do we do ourselves a disservice when we prop them up and saying, hey, look, these are Black writers, they're telling the stories, this is who you can be next, without giving people a full understanding of the process?
First of all, I applaud them, and I am of the opinion that any Black person in this systemic racist society that we live in that can make it, your hat should go off to them, and they should be applauded. Yes, there may be aspects of their journey, their attitude that you can question, but there is no doubt that there is talent and effort that is inherent in them, because we know that we have to do A work just to get B credit. So the fact that they are there is an indication that they're doing something right. We don't have to agree with everything, but you gotta recognize the grind, recognize the hustle, and acknowledge the accomplishment. That's first. So for those sisters, I'm happy for them. As far as should they be the status, should they be put up as what we should strive? I think that there's nothing wrong with wanting to be on network television if that's the lane that you want to be in, and if in fact that's where you want to be, why not study them? You can study whatever you want. We all study various topics. We pick and choose the things within those studies that we want to mimic. So there may be some aspects of their journey that you respect and appreciate. Glean what you can, toss away what you can't. But to me, there's a much bigger issue that determines whether or not you get to that point. What I find as a college professor, it's every semester, Farajii, the first day of class, I ask a question of all my students. And I ask a question of everyone who I've ever ghostwritten for or whatever. It's a very simple question, and you'd be amazed at how many people can't answer it without stuttering. And that question is, are you interested or are you committed? Because the answer to that question will determine whether or not you end up wherever your end game is. Are you interested? Are you interested or you commit? Is it, you say or and? Are you interested or committed? I have been interested in a lot of things. I see. The only things I've ever succeeded at, whether bad or good, were the things I was committed. I hear you. So when I deal with a lot of people who want to either write a book or have their story on the big screen or small screen, what determines whether or not they accomplish it oftentimes is whether or not they were interested or committed. See, a lot of people like the pomp and circumstance that comes with having a title or accomplishing a goal. Their interest is not the goal. Their interest is the notoriety. But that's a scary thing, because the moment something goes south, and inevitably it will, they'll be onto something new. But when you are committed to something, there is absolutely nothing that can knock you off your track.
Right. Exactly. I love it. I love it.
So why is that important? I'll tell you why that's important. I'll try to wrap this up real quickly. Because when you're interested, you just want to see your stuff on X, Y, and Z television, streaming platform, etc. You want to write a book so you can walk to somebody's bookstore, throw a book release party, and talk about what you've done. You don't learn the craft. You don't study the craft. You don't put together a succinct business plan with a cost breakdown that shows how much this is going to cost. The product is not top tier. I mean, people we know that want to start restaurants, but never actually study what it takes to keep a restaurant going.
Right.
I see it. You have to study whatever your craft is. You have to put together a business plan with a cost breakdown if, in fact, you're going to ask other people to invest in your dream. And last but not least, as a matter of fact, most importantly, you need to have a polished and well-done product. I see a lot of people that want to do those things. They want to hop on that motorcycle. But what I just described, Farajii, that's riding a bike.
And I'm so happy that you said that, big brother, because that is the part that is the hardest, I think, for a lot of people, right? In terms of how committed you are, that you're able to go through that process, take those steps, right? Keeping in mind that, yes, the network, the movie, all of that is at the end goal, but you're still taking the necessary steps, that you got to go through the steps of, whether it's writing, creating, like you said, a top-notch product, telling a great story with great character development and all of that. What you're doing, licensing your product, understanding, like, for example, if you're going to, put your stuff with the Writers Guild of America and other institutions that will protect your intellectual property, understanding the business side of things, right? So what you're talking about is taking that interest and turning it into a very real profession. If you are a writer, you are a writer. This ain't a hobby for you. Yeah. This is your profession.
Yeah, and I just find that a lot of people, when they're interested, they're interested, they easily distracted and thrown off course and discouraged. And whether it be Issa Rae or Tyler Perry, whoever the case may be,
or Jordan Peele,
there is a common thread. There's a linear thread that can be connected to these people. They were more than just interested. They were committed. That's what I'm talking about. There's a difference between having an interest and being committed. And all I'm saying to you, and why I'm bringing this up, is because the initial question was, what do we need to do to get our stuff on scene, and or whether or not there's still room for our stories. There's always room for our stories. But the world and the industry does not make room for us. We have to usually kick in doors. We have to usually go, we have to usually perform at an A level just to get C credit. And at the end of the day, as with anything in life, Farajii, we can get mad at Tom, Dick, and Harry, but if we ain't got our stuff together, it does not matter who you're going to go to ask for money. It will not succeed unless you do your work to begin with. And at the Script Repository, I stress that before we go asking anybody to finance anything, let's make sure you square it away.
There it is. Look, I got to take another pause. When we come forward, more conversation from Mr. Brian Smith, founder of the Script Repository. And I'm going to take a couple of comments from you, crew. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Blackstar Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Blackstar Network.
Blackstar Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Blackstar Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Blackstar Network. We've been checking in with Mr. Brian Smith, founder of the Script Repository. And this is a company, folks, that is doing its part to adapt novels and turning them into screenplays, to take writers' ideas and taking them to the next level, and essentially telling stories that matter. And Brother Brian, I think many people are checking in and they are, excited about the work that you have been doing, but they're more importantly excited about the stance that you take, this philosophy, especially that part about being interested or committed. I think that idea in and of itself can be applied to anything that we want to accomplish in life, brother. So I appreciate you for dropping that jewel right there, because that makes the world of difference. I can personally attest to the fact that out of everything that I've done, the thing that I have been committed to is this work right here, hosting media work.
It would not matter what anyone said to you, because you're committed. You're gonna find a way to make a way. But if you're interested, you'd be like, man, I wanted to go surfing anyway. Whatever.
Right.
Right. So when we get to talking about whether or not there's a space out there for African American films and stories, of course there is. The question is whether or not the storytellers are committed to telling them or just interested.
And that's why, Cindy D, one of our great culture crew members, she said Tyler Perry went from the Chitterling circuit to Lionsgate. That is being committed. Let me just say, he went from the Chitterling circuit to Lionsgate to Tyler Perry Studios.
Let me say something, man. I'm from New Orleans, born and raised. Tyler Perry grew up 10 minutes from me. Different wars, but we're right around each other. We're the same age. We went to rival high school, school. So I know the area where he grew up in. About 10, 15 minutes from where I grew up. He grew up in an area called the 6th Ward, 7th Ward. That uptown area around he grew up around, I think he grew up around the 11th, 13th, about the 11th Ward. I grew up in the 17th Ward, Holly Grove. I grew up on the same block with the rapper Lil Wayne. Same block. Literally, I could see Wayne's house from my porch.
Wow.
So, in other words, I know where he's coming from, and I know how rough New Orleans is. So, a lot of things that I saw in the documentary I already knew about. I had heard the stories or whatever. But whether or not you like his stories, whether or not you like the Medea character, what is undeniable is that he is a textbook case on how you can accomplish whatever it is you want if you're committed. And that's what I take from it. And that's what I tell people. I ain't a fan of his movies. Who cares? Glean from everyone's story what you can take from it. If you don't like his story, if you don't like his journey, can you relate to his perseverance? So I think that a lot of times, a lot of people, maybe it's the old Army sergeant in me, Farajii, but I don't suffer fools and I don't suffer people who just talk and wasting my time. You know what I'm saying? And I find a lot of people, we can do whatever we want. And those of us who are determined, we always get what we want and where we want to be. Maybe not in the time frame, but we get there when we are determined. So with the script repository, what I try to do is I take their stories and I put them in screenplay format. I also provide them with a list of 50 vetted production companies that they can send this to, and I write what we call a treatment. A treatment is what you actually send to production companies. You don't send people your script. That's how stuff gets stolen. But a treatment is sort of your screenplay's resume. And if in fact a producer or a money person likes the treatment, they then request to see the screenplay. So I write the script, create the treatment, and actually give them a list of 50 companies to send it to. I make no promises, but what I am trying to do, Farajii, is eliminate any opportunities for you to tap out.
And so you're testing the commitment of the writer.
You get it. Not me. Look, they're not gonna be y'all. Your key Farajii's car, not mine. Okay.
You're testing the commitment of the writer, because that's a process in and of itself.
Let me say, when I walk away from every project, I don't feel bad about nothing, because I cooked your food, I put it on the plate, I even gave you the fork. Now, whether or not you chew, that's on you.
Woo. There it is. There it is. You don't like my music. You said one thing you should remember as you write your story: the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, that's a lot of times, and I had to do this as a business owner. Don't be afraid to pivot. The story that you want to tell may not be the story that ends up where on the screen, but there's nothing wrong with modifying. I think sometimes our ego gets into in the way, and we're afraid to pivot. But I tell people, I have adult kids. I tell my kids, oftentimes the blessing is behind the pivot.
The blessing is behind the pivot.
Don't be afraid to pivot. Oftentimes a pivot is God's way of pointing you where you should be. The blessing is almost always behind the pivot.
And Brother Brian, as we close out on this, and I gotta take it. Let me do this. Let me take this next final pause, but I want to get your take on that, because the inspiration, and I love inspirations, brother. I am one to believe that your path in life is not a linear path, for one, and two, you gotta give room for inspiration. You cannot have every single step predetermined, already mapped out. Otherwise, you make a mockery of the Creator. You make a mockery of God to act as if you have power over your life.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of get your take on this. Like, how much of this work that you do is your technical, your talent and skills, and how much is it just simply by faith? And I want to get your take on that. Folks, we got to take a final pause. When we come back, Brian Smith will get the answer to that question and more. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Blackstar Network.
When you go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop at a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture. We've been checking in with Mr. Brian Smith, who is a writer, entrepreneur, professor, and he's the founder of the Script Repository. You can check it out at scriptrepository.com, scriptrepository.com. And this is the company that has been designed for creatives and writers who want to take their scripts to the next level, adapting their writings from novels to screenplays, to teleplays for television and for the film. And so our brother Brian Smith has been dropping some jewels on what it takes to be a great writer, and more importantly, telling stories that matter. Brother Brian, as we close out the conversation today, and again, I thank you so much for your time. What would you say, how much of this journey for you personally, and how do you say this to emerging writers, how much of the journey is about the technical skills, and how much of it is faith? Just simply allowing, like you said, being able to appreciate the pivot. Like, you have to have faith and you have to allow inspiration to come into this process to take you to that place you want to be.
So I am a man of faith. I look at it like this. I assume that when people contact me and they're looking for my company services, my services, whether it be to ghostwrite their novel, their book, or to adapt their novel into a movie, whatever it is they're looking for me to do, I'm assuming that they prayed on it first. And in most cases, they have.
Right.
At least that's what they say. So the way I look at it, Farajii, is that if they come to me, God has deemed me worthy to be the answer to their prayer. So I take great pride in the fact that I have never missed a deadline and I have never not finished a project, because for me at that point, it is bigger than the person who's paying me for the service. My commitment actually is more to God than them, because first of all, I'm thankful that he felt I was worthy to be a help to one of his children. And I'm also thankful that he thought I was good enough to do it. And I don't want that favor to stop. So I take on projects. I let people know, yes, I want to help you, but with no disrespect, this is so much bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't got to worry about me not finishing your project. I ain't trying to piss God off.
You know, and to that point, big brother, one of the things that I've recognized as I've gotten older is that, and I just told this to a Latino brother yesterday, because he was telling me, you know, I'm with my son last night and he had an ice cream truck, and he was telling me, he was like, you know, bro, I came out of prison. He was tatted up, Brother Brian. You know what I'm saying? He's from the street life in here in LA. And he said he came out of prison and he made the decision to change his life around. Now he's a man that owns an ice cream truck and go around the city and make children happy and serve ice cream and other stuff. But he said he never thought that he would get into this space. And I told him, brother, always embrace your story. Don't never be ashamed about the story. And I think that in our culture now, more now than ever before, we are being told mixed messages. One, we're told to accept yourself, but at the same time, we're also told your story is not good enough to be highlighted. Your story is not good enough to be written about. Your story is not as good as this person who has more notoriety and more fame than you. So your story is not enough. So I just let him know, like, brother, don't ever think that your story, what you went through, is something less than, because that's what made you you. That's what made us. That's what makes me me. And so, you know, what do you say to those who know that they got something in them, Brother Brian? They want to express it. We got culture crew members that are checking in today who say, I've been wanting to write a story. I think it's this Woman Queen, you said, I'm interested in more information, baby steps. She got a story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that first part of that first step in the process, the baby steps she's talking about, is accepting your story, right? is embracing your story.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, Farajii, it's fear, right?
That's true.
It's fear of rejection. People not going to be feeling my story. People going to think I'm corny. People going to laugh at me. I'm going to be too transparent, and some people are going to know some things about me that they never knew before that I've been trying to hide. But I tell those who will listen that all that procrastination, that procrastination and coming up with, that's just fear in disguise. Procrastination is nothing but fear in disguise. So if you are dragging your feet, procrastinating, it's because you're really scared. You're really, and I kind of look at fear this way, and maybe it's the entrepreneur in me, maybe it's the, I don't know, the New Orleans mentality. I don't know what it is. I come from a land of hustlers. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be the Tyler Perrys of the world to Master P's of you're gonna learn how to hustle in New Orleans. You're gonna get it. Nobody's coming down south giving breaks. That's where you get the Birdmans of the world. You get these people who find a way to finance our own thing. So that is the mindset that I come from. Entrepreneurship is almost embedded in the culture. So with that being said, I just feel like a lot of people procrastinate and they fear rejection. They fear it's not going to work. But I believe that if God gave you the thought, He'll give you the vehicle to get it done. There are a lot of people. A lot of people could have been given that particular story, but God gave it to you. God gave it to you. He could have given it to Brother Farajii. He could have given it to Brian. He could have given it to. He gave that story to you, and how dare you stifle it?
Woo. Woo.
And I fear. This is just the way. This is just me, and I understand this is a process for people. You have to grow, Farajii. But I look at faith. Is the same way you can't be a little pregnant. You can't be a little pregnant. Right? Last I checked, Roger, bruh, let me tell you something, baby. Last time I checked, you can't be a little pregnant. And you can't have a little faith. You either got it or you don't.
Oh, come on. Come on.
You understand what I'm saying? Faith is, I equate faith to pregnancy. You can't be a little pregnant and you can't have a little faith. You either got it or you don't. The same way you're either pregnant or you're not. So whenever I hear people that are dragging their feet, I am the kind of person, I'm probably not the best mentor for everybody, but I will give you about 1 or 2 discussions to be hemming and hawing. And then at some point, I'm gonna say, suck it up, buttercup. You gonna do this or not? You understand what I'm saying? Because while you dragging your feet, there's people out there who are committed already.
Come on.
If you're just interested, I will help you through some things and I'll discuss some things to you. But at some point, I'm about the business of dealing with people who are committed. So take your time, go through the process of going from being interested to committed, and when you're ready, holler at me.
There it is. Brian, I can't thank you enough, brother, for your insight, your passion, your heart, and just you keeping it 1,000% real with us as we have this. Again, folks, Brian Smith, who's the founder of the Script Repository. Make sure y'all check him out online. That's the website right there. And you can see what they specialize in the work that they do in taking stories and taking ideas, taking novels, taking them to the next level, whether it's to film, to movies and TV, and more importantly, just honoring the great work and craft of telling stories that matter to yourself, that matter to our people, that matter, and it's good for the culture. Brother Brian Smith, I can't thank you enough.
I gotta plug this, bro. Just one thing.
Go ahead.
Because my co-writer and producer would be upset. I am happy to say that I try to practice what I preach. If you go on Amazon Prime, if you go on Comcast, Xfinity, all these different outlets that the cable or streaming sites. You can find a movie right now that's out. It came out 2 months ago that I co-wrote, and legendary act. It's called Premonition. And I write in my movies. I mean, my books. 12 years ago, I started a mystery series called The Sleepy Carter Mysteries. I'm happy to say that in this movie Premonition, which you can find right now on Amazon Prime, legendary actor Bill Duke is playing my character Sleepy Carter in this movie called Premonition. So go check it out. Like I said, it's on Comcast, Xfinity, Amazon Prime, Premonition. Go check it out. And I think I encourage you to go do that so that you'll know that the person's talking on this in this interview isn't just talking. That I'm knee deep in it.
There it is. Brother Brian, I truly appreciate you. I thank you. More importantly, we thank you for the work you're doing for the culture. And again, brother, this has been a fantastic conversation. So thank you, brother,
for having me. This has been a great conversation. I wish you nothing but continued success. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome, big brother. You're welcome. Thank you. Folks, it is the Script Repository. Make sure you're checking out online. And more importantly, follow the Script Repository, Brother Brian Smith, on all social media platforms. And once again, we thank him for being so good for the culture. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I truly appreciate y'all sticking around for a few extra minutes with us this afternoon. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all of your devices. Follow us on social media. And of course, we ask for your financial support as we are continuing to have these conversations and other discussions right here on the show and on the network. So make sure you do your due diligence and support us. And for those who have already supported us, I'm looking at you, woman queen. You gave a little something and put it in the pot. Thank you so much today. We truly appreciate you. Also, Chris S., welcome to the Bring the Funk fan club on a level 1 rate. Thank you so much for that, Chris S. I truly appreciate it. Man, I love when y'all give something. Love when y'all give something in the midst of these conversations. That means that we're saying something. We are on the right track. So thank you. We cannot thank you enough for your support. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered, 6 p.m. Eastern time. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for the final day of the week for another set of fantastic conversations right here on The Culture, right here, exclusively here, only here on the Blackstar Network. Have a great afternoon, wonderful evening, and God willing, we'll talk tomorrow. Peace.
You're rocking with the best.